Overwatch is something most of us at God is a Geek have played for between dozens to even hundreds of hours in 2016 when it hit the PS4, Xbox One and PC. It became my go-to game to jump into when I had a bit of free time, and I only started drifting away from it slowly around the time Moira was added. Don't get me wrong, she is loads of fun to play, but I was getting into other games at the time. Having not really got back into it since then, barring a few events here and there, it's been very interesting to revisit it on both Nintendo Switch and actually Xbox One X as well over the last few weeks. When I played the original Splatoon 2 global test via beta on Switch in 2017, I was even then hoping Blizzard would bring Overwatch to Switch, because having a proper portable version would be great. It's taken them a few years, but it is finally here in the form of Overwatch Legendary Edition, and the conversion has some interesting compromises with a few notable additions only available on Nintendo Switch. In terms of content, this is the same game available on other systems, including all the limited events when live, all heroes, all game modes, and yes, even the loot boxes. What sets this port apart from the other versions is the control options and interface options. I can't tell you how disappointed I get when I try the touchscreen for menus in most Switch ports and find the developers have just straight up ignored it. Blizzard and I in Galaxy have allowed for touch support for most menus in the interface, and it's great. You can quickly move around the hero gallery and even customise control options through the touchscreen. The other notable addition is the gyro control options. By default, there are preset options for the Pro Controller, Joy-Cons attached to the system in handheld, and split Joy-Cons. You can add custom gyro options here, and while I can't recommend playing with gyro enabled on the Switch with controllers attached, it works well with the Pro Controller. Overwatch on Switch also has a nice implementation of rumble feedback. Visually, Overwatch looks a lot nicer than I expected on Switch. There are the usual cutbacks in terms of anti-aliasing and even texture quality, but it looks great in handheld and very nice when docked. It looked nice and crisp in handheld mode, seeming near native resolution a lot of the time, with a few instances where I noticed it drop a bit. In docked, it is noticeably lower resolution than even the base PS4. The big issues with the port arise with performance, because instead of targeting 60 frames per second like every other console version, this version targets 30 FPS. If you've played loads of Overwatch on other consoles, you might take a while to adjust, if at all, but the downside here is that it can't even hold a solid 30 at all times. During tense moments when everyone's jumping around the payload and using their ultimates, the game almost slows down a bit. Hopefully this can be addressed though in a future patch. If you've never played Overwatch before, this Switch port is a good way of checking it out, assuming you value portability above everything else. If you think you'll play more docked and own another system, get it there instead of Switch. If you only own a Switch, however, Overwatch is still well worth checking out right now.